Consider a sample of 40 ages from players who played in the 2022-2023 NBA season. Calculate the mean age and 5% trim mean. Use technology or use the value 1032, the sum of the data, to help with a hand calculation. Okay, so if we were doing this by hand, we could definitely take advantage of the 1032 there. Otherwise, we have to add up each one of these numbers individually, which is not too hard, but it's quite a big data set. So the mean, if you recall, is the sum of x divided by the number of data values. So in this case, we know the sum already is 1032. We know there are 40 ages here, so that means we divide by 40. This would give us a value of 25.8. Okay, likewise, we're asked to calculate the 5% trim mean. We're going to utilize the sum of 1032 still in our calculation right now. But recall, to calculate a 5% trim mean, we need to order the data from smallest to largest. Okay, good for us. That step is already taken care of. Step 2 is to delete the bottom 5% of the data value and the top 5% of the data. If 5% is not a whole number, we round this number to the nearest integer. All right, so step 2. So step 1's done. Step 2, find 5% of 40. So that's just 0.05 times 40, which gives us 2. So this tells us to remove two values from top and bottom of the data set. All right, so that means we would remove two 20s and the 34 and 35. We will remove those values there. And the next step would be step 3, says to calculate the mean of the remaining 90% of the data. Okay, now to do this, we would need so we're calculating what's called the 5% trim mean. So we need to sum the remaining 90% of the data and then divide by the remaining number of data values that remain. Okay, so here we'll use the fact that we know we originally had 1032 data values, but we removed 20, the value of 20. Actually, we removed two values of 20, and we also removed 34 and 35. And we'll divide that number by 36 since we removed already those values. So then calculating this again here, that would give us 923, and then we divide that number by 36, and so this would give us 25.6388 or rounding to the one decimal point, we get 25.6. So you can see in this case, the mean and the 5% trend mean are fairly close to each other. And that's because there's not too many extreme values in this data set. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see how to do this using Microsoft Excel. Okay, so the mean is simply calculating what Excel calls the average. So we'll type in average and then highlight the data and then hit enter. Okay, the 5% trim mean can be found using the average function as well. Excel does have a 5% trimming. I'm not too sure how to use it, or I'm not even sure if it works the same as this procedure that we're learning. So the 5% trimming, before we calculate this, you would have had to calculate 5% of 40. And so in a cell right next to it, I would go 0.05 times 40. And that would tell me that I need to remove two data values from top and bottom. So those are the two 20s we removed, and the 34 and the 35. Okay, so then here we'll use the average function again. But note here, we got to be a little careful here because Excel cannot highlight just the portion that we need. So to compensate for that, what we're going to do is highlight the first remaining values that remain, and then highlight the stuff here in the middle, separated by commas as you see, and then highlight the remaining values over here. Okay. And then that will give us the average of what we just calculated by hand, 25.638888. And of course, if we wanted to round this to 1 decimal point, we could go ahead and do that by using the rounding feature here in Excel. And that's how you do it in Excel.